Yeah.
As I've said before, we are so lucky, and the Ness is such an enigmatic site, and to know that even in Trench T, of course, there's Iron Age interaction with this peninsula as well. It's fascinating, and that's a good segue into the activity and the work that's been going on in Trench T this year. I was down there yesterday, and there's a drain alignment, which I'm sure you've probably seen. I don't know if Dave told you that the void actually stretches back for a good couple of metres. So we've got a really kind of substantial drain alignment that stretches all the way into the section of the trench. So I mean, it's great really that we've got all of this, and of course the architectural construction in Trench T with those massive orthostats is quite unique as well, isn't it?
Yes, everything about Trench T is just different, and this year we extended, hoping to expose quite quickly more of this enigmatic structure, whatever it is. But as usual, you should always expect the unexpected when it comes to archaeology.
Yeah.
And rather than just coming down onto the top of the midden mound and more of these pits, late Neolithic pits that could be dealt with quite quickly, we came down upon kind of intermediary structural elements, and these of course have all had to be dealt with, recorded, and some of them may relate to structure 27, but I think there's other things happening, so life's never simple in Trench T, never mind the rest of the site.
And I did say to you before, didn't I, and you said not in your lifetime, but would there be a point that Trench T becomes the main focus? And I think obviously there's still a lot of way to go in Trench P, and there are, as we've discussed already, kind of new structures that we're thinking about sort of investigating further in the future and things. But as you say, the archaeology is just so different that it's kind of under the radar crown jewel of the site in that respect, isn't it? Because of that continuity and because of the differences of the things we've got down there.
Yeah, well, I think that structure 27, whatever it is, I think is going to be relatively early, and it'll be interesting to see how that relates to maybe the structure 5 in Trench J. But I think this year we've been fortunate enough to be able to open up Trench T to the public. This has been partially due to a small grant from the local Ness and Firth Community Council, and so we have notice boards down there, a roped off pathway, and I think the public have been just as enthralled with Trench T as they have been with Trench P.
Definitely. Yeah, it's great. I mean, the public engagement of the site is second to none in Orkney. I think it was the visiting statistics are just phenomenal. I mean, the open days we're looking at sort of over 1,000 comfortably every time, and a good few hundred visitors every day, and it's fantastic that people that are visiting the islands want to engage with the archaeology, not just in the kind of monumental sense of visitation of sites that have been excavated and are presented to the public, but archaeology is such an emotive thing to watch and to witness, isn't it?
I think the public seem to really engage with sites which are active, where they can see history and archaeology being revealed before their very eyes. Sometimes it does feel a bit like being in a zoo, but I think that it's a great credit to the site that it has kind of proved to be such a popular attraction for visitors, not just from this country, but as we've seen again and again, people from around the world. Numerous people I've met who said, "Oh, we saw you lecturing in America, we saw you lecturing in Australia, we just had to come and see the site for ourselves." But it's great seeing so many local people as well, not just in the open days, but throughout the week, and so many of the local tour guides bringing visitors to the site and explaining in great detail about what is happening here. And as you said, the figures that we've had for this year, we had about 12,500 last year, but we surpassed 10,000 by the end of the 4th week, halfway through the dig.
Yeah, it's crazy, and as you say, the international draw is quite substantial, isn't it? And when people are able to tie in their interest with the archaeology for the purposes of coming over and visiting and things, and you hear those stories, and we had a gentleman who came yesterday who I think I've seen up here every year from the Isle of Man, I think he's from. And you see the same faces of people that come back, and they are still so actively engaged with the site, and they're keeping up to date with the blog, and they always want to come back and see it, which is great.
Yeah, again, our blog has been exceedingly popular. Just last night we had our most popular blog of the year. I don't know whether that was because it was about Alison's Ness of Brodgar delights, the recipe
the
for
chocolates,
the
yeah.
chocolates that she published the recipe for. But I think, yes, people are following us on a day-to-day basis, and the kind of video diary that you're doing as well is just this added aspect to that, kind of taking the archaeology out there and sharing it with as many people as we can.
Yeah, that's it. Because we talk about ropes and viewing platforms and things like that, and of course we are open to the public, but of course that access has to be limited to an extent. So I think what I have found doing these videos is that having access to the trenches and sort of being able to kind of really give people a first person perspective, almost kind of being there without being there, it's really nice. And I think people are sort of really falling in love with the site even more for those reasons, which is great.
Yeah, I think whatever we can do to take the archaeology and share it with as many people as we can to that kind of worldwide audience is a very important part of what we do. Because without the public support, the Ness of Brodgar would not be able to happen.
Yeah.
Because over 90% of our funding comes from the good general public through the Ness of Brodgar Trust, the Scottish charity, and also the American Friends of the Ness of Brodgar, the American charity that's registered with the IRS. And without those forms of income, the Ness just wouldn't happen. We get small amounts from the local council, we get support from Historic Environment Scotland through the Ranger Service, who help with the guided tours and aspects of site maintenance with the grass cutting. But yes, the vast majority of funding comes through the public. And also this year we've been lucky enough to secure leader funding through some of the last European grants. So yeah, eternally grateful to that, but hopefully the public support will continue, because without it, the Ness just wouldn't happen.
This is it, and the continuity of research at the site is so crucial, not only because it's so vast and expansive and there's so much to look at and investigate, but from what we've discussed previously about how it's rewriting history, and it's making us think differently about the whole landscape in the heart of Neolithic Orkney and the way that things emerged and the social dynamics of things that were going on 5,000 or so years ago.
Well, I think if somebody had said 15 years ago there would be a site like the Ness in the midst of all these kind of iconic prehistoric monuments that we have here in the heart of Neolithic Orkney, nobody would have suspected something of such a scale.
Yeah.
And so, but the Ness is primarily a research project, but we want to share it at the same time, and this is what we're doing through the video diary, the blog, and many, many other aspects.
Yeah, this is it, and there's several projects structure to structure and area by area that are really capturing people's imagination. Sometimes it's the beautiful finds and the examples of incised stone and the fantastic bits of pottery and of course the mace heads and things like that. People are interested by the objects, but I think generally in a broader sense, the story of the site as well. And we continue over the next couple of weeks to kind of, it's such a shame that we're getting towards the end really, and there's still a lot more work to do, but
it always is a shame, but I think that people's energy levels also start to flag.
Yeah.
The team do a wonderful job quite often battling on through not the most perfect weather, although this summer's been so much better than last year.
yeah, much.
But yes, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of head work, making sense of it all. And it's hats off to the amazing team, the supervisors, the volunteers, the students, the site assistants, everybody, and of course the people who work behind the scenes. Anne Mitchell and her team of finds people, and Scott Pike with his XRF machine, Roy Towers doing the blog. The list is endless. It's sometimes, it's not quite a logistical nightmare, but there's so many different strands that we have to pull together.
You've got to write it all up eventually as well.
Well, that's probably going to be getting done in stages already. During the excavation this year, we had a meeting with all the various specialists involved with the project, and I think there was about 25 of us met for 2 days, a couple of weeks ago in fact, over a weekend, and lots of fantastic ideas flying around. But the potential of the site, which is slowly being realised and publications put out there, is all coming together. But with a site of this vastness and complexity, it doesn't happen overnight. I think any paper that you want to put out there is a lot of work that has to go into it.
Yeah. And the name, of course, is such a big draw, isn't it? You know, people. There's a quote from Neil Oliver on the back of the guidebook, something along the lines of the Ness of Brodgar is a site that the whole world should be talking about. And I think we're proving that, and it's a big mantle to live up to that, isn't it? But at the same time, with what we're doing and the response that people are having to the work that we're doing here, I think we're doing something right, aren't we?
I think we're doing many aspects of the Ness in the right fashion. I think whether it's the science that we try to throw at it, you know, covering almost every base that we can, developing new techniques, working with numerous establishments, academic institutions, but also the working with local community councils, and trying to, you know, make everybody involved.